Everybody ready? Good morning. I'm Attorney Ben Crump, and along with a zealous civil rights advocate and legal champion, Ben Johnson, my co-counsel, we are honored to represent the families of Samuel Sterling and Riley Doggett. Present with us to my right is Riley's mother, Becky, and his sister, Taylor. And to Ben's left is Samuel Sterling's parents, Andrika Cage and Michael Sterling. Uh, we're here to announce the filing of what we believe very important lawsuits on behalf of both of these families. Uh, you're going to hear from Attorney Johnson in great detail the legal maneuvers to make sure that we focus attention to where it needs to be. And that is on these videos that show police officers using their vehicles as weapons to kill her son and the Sterling son. Just think about that for a second. As we've said previously, they pose no threat. They both were running away from the officers. So why would the officers use their automobiles as weapons to kill these young men? It boggles the mind when you think about how unjustified it is. First of all, they're running away, so what is the imminent threat to use excessive force? Certainly excessive deadly force. And then why would you use a car? Where's that in the police training? And I understand we're dealing with some very interesting times, shall we say, in our country. But there is no way you can justify what happened on this video. Police officers using their vehicles to kill young men here in Michigan going away. It is important to mention that as it relates to Becky, I mean, this is truly her last chance at justice, any measure of justice, because prosecutors have declined to bring criminal charges against the killer cop who killed her son, Riley. We know there's pending criminal matters with the killer of Samuel Sterling, but that remains elusive until we actually get accountability. So it is equally important these civil actions are going forward because these truly are the opportunities. If they're ever going to get any justice, it is going to be because of the work that Attorney Johnson and our legal teams are going to do on their behalf. I say this here, and I'll turn it over to Attorney Johnson to talk about the practical applications of the litigation that is being put forth today. In a society where we say the Constitution matters, in times when it seems that the constitutional protections are too extravagant for everyday American citizens, these two cases stands as hallmarks to whether or not in America we're going to have a nation of laws or we're going to have just knee-jerk reaction of political impulses that make all of us in jeopardy of being able to have the Constitution be real for us. In the last 72 hours of this new administration, the elasticity of the Constitution has been stretched in ways we've never seen it stretched before. But if we allow innocent people who are running away, not convicted of anything, they're running away, and the police to use their vehicles to kill them, then God help America. Then God help America. Attorney Johnson.
Good morning. I want to give a shout out to the Venn Johnson Law legal team that not only handle these cases, but also run our civil rights department. I want to give a shout out to Ms. Ayane Hatchett in the back and Kristen Dewberry and Liza Dodson, Chief Appellate Attorney Chris Desmond and Tom Carr, as well as my assistant Kateri Nat and Carly Reynolds. Kind of round out our team. So thank you all for what you're doing. On April 8, 2024, Riley Doggett and another gentleman were being apprehended by the Kent County Sheriff's Department when ultimately they both got out of the vehicle. We're going to share with you a video that not only shows the final moments, and so Becky and Taylor, I'm sorry, but what it shows you is we have side by side, and shout out to Anthony Cairo, our IT genius. You'll see not only that the car veers to the right, driver driving the car turns the wheel to the right drastically. And the reason why I want to show you that is we've synced up the video. So you'll see there is no question this officer, and it's Officer Josiah, Josiah McMains, MC, capital M-A-I-N-S. He is a Kent County Sheriff Deputy. He absolutely intentionally made a drastic right turn, which then ran over Riley and killed him. Anthony, please. So you're seeing his body-worn camera. That's how we have the view of the steering wheel. And then we have the camera, the dash cam that shoots out the front of the vehicle. And while Anthony's getting up, you should note that this video that I'm showing you, we have forwarded to Attorney General Dana Nessel so that she can see the blatant, what we believe the blatant intentional turning of the vehicle that killed Riley. Go ahead, Anthony. Stop, please. Stop, please. Okay. On the right, you see Riley Doggett. His back is to the officer. He's running. To the left is the gentleman that was driving what the police say was a stolen vehicle. And obviously, neither one of these gentlemen were convicted of the crime yet. And obviously, there is a criminal case against, thank you, there's a criminal case against this gentleman right there. But Riley and the police saw, you saw when we backed up a second. Is this on, guys? The police saw that Riley got out of the passenger seat. Why is that important? So whatever you think that the driver was doing wrong, not Riley. He was a front seat passenger. So now he sees Riley. You can see how close he's getting to Riley. And I want you to watch, go slowly, Anthony, so you can see, let's play it straight speed first, and then we're going to go back and slow it down, Anthony. Okay. Now he's going left to go around him. Now watch the turn. You can see that, you can hear the hit and the drastic turn to the right. So the officer is going to say, and has said apparently, that he wasn't intending to hit Riley. He was trying to get in front of him and block his path. The exact same lie, by the way, that is being perpetrated by Keeley in the Sterling case that we'll show you next. So this, again, video has been sent to Attorney General Nessel. We have made multiple verbal and now a formal letter saying, please review this case. Kent County has already said they're not going to charge. And for those that didn't see Chris Becker's press conference on that, he actually said that he didn't believe that the car actually hit Riley, that Riley stepped in front of the car, is what he said, which clearly did not happen since Riley got run over by the front wheel.
Can you play it one more time?
Yep. Do it again, Anthony, please. In Riley's right hand, that they'll say that he had an object. You can clearly see it's a cell phone. And the fact of the matter is, even if Riley had a gun, which by the way, he did not, they searched him, of course, and after they ran him over, and that he had no weapons. His back was turned the entire time. And what Ben Crump and I could tell you, ladies and gentlemen, is that there's a case, a United States Supreme Court case called Tennessee versus Garner, Garner, back in the 1960s in the Warren Supreme Court days that Ben Crump could tell you all about. There was a case where the Tennessee had a law that said an officer could shoot a fleeing felon in the back, even if that felon was not threatening the officer. And the court, United States Supreme Court said, no, you cannot. That is an unconstitutional law. And so in that case, it was a burglary. A guy jumped on the fence and was trying to get over. The cop shot him right in the middle of the back and killed him. And the Supreme Court said, can't do that. So this is a straightforward, what we believe to be very nails on situation. Okay, that was April 8 of 24. And the last thing I'm going to say relative to that is, again, Ms. Wilbert Becky and her family through counsel and others have literally begged the authorities to do something criminally against McMain, and they refused. So today we filed the civil action on their behalf. We filed it in the United States District Court in the Western District of Michigan. So that'll mean that it will be either in Grand Rapids, Kalamazoo, or Lansing, depending on how the court processes it. And it is an excessive force case, but we've also listed a number of state claims as well. Sadly, 9 days later, on April 17, 24, an almost identical situation happened with Keeley, Detective Keeley, Trooper Keeley, at Michigan State Police at the Burger King. And you all have seen that video, but I'm going to show you a similar video where we've got the body cam and the on-dash camera, so you can see the intentional steering of the car to the right. Sorry, Mike. Sorry. Okay. I'm sorry for the sound, but what we do, that's actually we're slowing it down. That's part of the process, unfortunately. That's what you're hearing. But now you can see that Samuel has his back to the officer. Again, the officer is passing him on the passenger side of the vehicle. And you're going to have to watch, again, the steering wheel in his hands. And my apologies for the steering thing. Can you show the body camera? And then you all will recall that the day of this incident, so 9 days after Riley was run over and killed, Michigan State Police, administratively, removed Keeley. And then, about a month later, charged Keeley with, state crime. We were in state court when, the U.S. Attorney, or the Michigan Attorney General's office was fighting against the criminal defense attorney's efforts to remove this to federal court. This case is now pending in federal court in Lansing, Judge Jarbo, where the proceedings will now move forward sometime early this year. Anthony? Thank you. Today, we filed actually 2 cases on behalf of the Sterling family. Enrique Cage is what we call the personal representative of her son's estate, Becky Wilbert being the personal representative of Riley's estate. We filed 1 case in the Court of Claims. When you want to sue a state actor or an agent of a state agency, you have to sue them in the Court of Claims. Court of Claims is actually a court that we now here in Michigan run out of, if you will, the Michigan Court of Appeals. So the Michigan Court of Appeals has 4 Court of Claim judges that get assignments for cases like this. One of them will be selected, and that judge will be our judge on the state claims in the Court of Claims. We also filed today on behalf of the Sterling family a federal case, likewise in the federal district court, meaning again, it will be pending in Lansing, Grand Rapids, or Kalamazoo, depending on who is assigned the judge. And in that federal case, we alleged, much like in Riley's case, the violation of federal law under Tennessee versus Garner, excessive force. Plain and simple, folks, the car was being used as a deadly weapon. And you can't shoot the guy. Tennessee Garner says you can't shoot a felon who's running away from you, not posing a risk to you, not threatening you. You can't just shoot him in the back and kill him. And here, you can't run him over the car either. Where are we at, Anthony? Watch the steering wheel. Look at the drastic turns. You'll see it come onto the right soon. And what you could see there, obviously, that when Samuel was run over by Keeley, Samuel was actually over the curb on the sidewalk when Keeley intentionally steered right. Okay, please. Thank you. All right. So after filing these cases today, we will serve them on the defendants. That means formal process. These cases are now officially up and running in court. And obviously, we anticipate all sorts of motions and so forth from the defense. We'll keep everybody updated. But I wanted to give the microphone back to Ben, let him comment, and let you all hear a little bit from the family, or entertain questions, Alex, whatever you'd like to do. Mr. Crump?
Yeah, thank you.
Oh, you got one.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, okay. Now, Ben, thank you for that thorough audio and visual presentation. To break it down, I do want to comment just on the request to the Attorney General to bring criminal charges on behalf of Riley Doggett's family. I mean, the video is very clear that this young man was running away and that he turned the steering wheel. Very, very similar to Samuel Sterling. We just celebrated Martin Luther King's birthday. Martin Luther King said something very profound. He said that worse than the attacks by your critics is the silence of your friends, the people who were supposed to say something, the people who were supposed to do something when they saw the injustice occur. Well, we have Democrat leaders in the state of Michigan who run campaigns saying that they stand for equal justice under law, that it's about the Constitution applying fairly and equally to all citizens. How can you look at this video and look the other way? If you're not just a responsible leader, but a leader who has got the support of many advocates who believe that you would be fair, how can you look the other way? Shame on you, Michigan, if you don't do right when you see these videos. What terrible precedent you will be setting in times such as these if Michigan doesn't choose to act. We need leadership in America now. And if we're not getting it from Washington, we turn to our states, especially our states that are led by people who are supposed to be progressive and fair. And if they abandon us, what hope do we have to get justice for regular, everyday American citizens? This is an appeal not just in the court of law. Attorney Johnson and I, we got that covered. We are going to do our parts and make sure under the 7th Amendment that these families get civil justice. But that's only partial justice. If it was Attorney General Nessa's child, she would want charges. So why is it different when it's Becky's child or Andrika's child? This is about simple justice. It's not anything extraordinary we're asking for. This is simple justice. And as brilliant as Attorney Johnson and Attorney Hackett and all the other lawyers are and giving prima facie evidence, it doesn't take all of that. This is simple justice. Look at the video. Look at the video. Don't close your eyes. Don't turn away. Look at the video. That's all we're saying. Look at the video and do what you know is right in your heart.
Alex?
Families, what does justice look like for you three or four?
Becky.
The only thing that we would want is for the officer to be charged. I can't bring my son back. Nobody can bring my son back. But for him to be charged would be a piece of justice for us.
Justice for me is the same way. I believe that officer should serve his time. Because if this role was a different way, my son would have had to serve his time. So
Yep.
I believe that he should do his time. You can't bring Samuel back. And I had to come to that agreement that I will never see him again. I had to see him on TV constantly. And I have come to that conclusion that he's never coming back. That officer took away something that everybody in Grand Rapids loved.
Michael Taylor?
The officer,
Speak in the mic, please. Thank you very much.
um, just the officer being charged, justice looks like Dana Nessel bringing, looking over the case and bringing charges towards the officer and holding him accountable for, what he did to Riley.
Pete? I'm sorry, people ask, pardon me for interrupting, I'll so quickly, promise for a change. People ask, every time we have a case, and every time I'm fortunate enough to work with Ben Crump, what do you think, Ben, what do you really want to see out of this? And the answer is, folks, change. And we always hear the quick fixes. We need more money for the officers. Fine. We need more training. The training that these officers have says nothing about you can use a car to run people down to try to stop them from getting away. Just like they don't train them to say, you can shoot them in the back, even if they're not threatening you, to stop them if you think they did something wrong. No, the officers out on the street have a job to arrest, to detain, and then let the court system take over in terms of charges or not, guilty or not, and then if found guilty, serving a sentence just like Andrika said. It should not be different rules for a police officer. And worse yet, when we do not take care of our own, when we don't punish, when these cities or the counties do not punish their officers in a blatant violation of their own policies, it teaches the other officers it's okay, you can get away with it too. So in essence, it encourages more excessive force, which under our laws, folks, excessive force is illegal. Excessive force is illegal, criminally and civilly. I apologize, ma'am. Please continue.
No, it's actually kind of related to what you said. We have been following this for a while, and both of you in your statements mentioned that it's bigger than just these two families.
Yeah.
What are some of the changes that you want to see on a structural level in our state's law enforcement in order to ensure that this doesn't happen again?
Ben does this all over the country, so please, sir.
Yeah, and it is, Attorney Johnson and I are civil rights advocates. And he was just sharing with me that the United States Supreme Court is going to have, is it a Michigan case that?
It's the Patrick Leolia case.
They're gonna hear Patrick Leola, but there's another case right now being decided by the Supreme Court with the facts very similar, where they are trying to expand what they call a fleeing felon. As Van correctly said, it was already decided in Tennessee v. Gardner that you could not do it unless they represented some kind of threat. Well, like everything we've seen in recent days, and I do mean recent days, they are trying to give almost blanket immunity to police. And so when you think about what's happening in the Supreme Court, what's happening, the judicial branch, what's happening in the executive branch right now in America, you see not just day by day, but it seems like in the last 3 days, minute by minute, more rights being taken away from American citizens. And so the change we want to see is that the laws that have been precedent setting hallmarks, cases that have been well established legal principles that has served America well for the last 50 years. I think about the things that Lyndon Baines Johnson signed when he was president, that president after president after president, both Republicans and Democrats, said that this is good law for America, now being taken back. So the change we want to see is that the Constitution that the framers intended over 200 years ago is allowed to protect us. I mean, the Department of Justice is there to enforce constitutional rights. And what have we been told in the last 3 days? That the Department of Justice is going to put a freeze on all civil rights cases. It is very troubling. So these cases present an opportunity to say that, no, 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 we don't allow police to get away with murder. We don't allow police to get away with corruption and conspiracy. We hold them accountable too, so people will trust police. And if not, how do we tell our children to respect the police when they're going to shoot us in the back and run over us with cars, even though we're not posing a threat? I know I got emotional, I got off on a tangent, but I think right now we got to get emotional because these laws are going to kill our children if we don't speak up.
Can we find the case that's before the U.S. Supreme Court right now that Ben's talking about, so we can share with the media the name of it? You guys, it's been on TV, guys, the last few days. It's up before the United States Supreme Court right now. And Ben is 100% correct. What you'll see is the officer has the door open of a vehicle, trying to get somebody out of the vehicle, a driver. The driver then moves forward to get away, and the officer shoots and kills the gentleman at point blank range, even though the gentleman did not have a gun. That is classic Tennessee versus Garner. The officer was not, he says, I was afraid that he was going to run me over. Officer, the car went forward and you were already inside the door that was open. You can't get run over in that regard. Officer shot and killed the gentleman. So to answer your question in Michigan, ma'am, I personally don't think officers need more training than they're currently getting. What number one thing that needs to happen, and this is where the Doggett situation and the Sterling situation is a little bit different. So I'm going to show you that. But what needs to happen is the training that they use needs to be enforced by a way of discipline. So when an officer violates, you call him or her out on it and you discipline them. So everybody can see that you are abiding by the law. When you get officers who break their own training, like we saw with George Floyd, okay? Ben Crump and his team made it so absolutely blatantly obvious that they broke with their own training. You got to hold those officers accountable by disciplining them, and then you need to hold them accountable criminally. And then Ben and I are honored to help and hold them accountable civilly. So let me tell you the quick difference. Doggett happened on 4/8/24, no charges, despite repeated requests. Sterling happened on 4/17/24, 9 days later, charges. But look what they did with Keeley, y'all. Keeley was removed from duty administratively without pay on the day of the shooting. Why? Because the number one officer at Michigan State Police, who we have a great deal of respect for, saw the video, saw the turning of the vehicle, saw that Samuel was hit by a car over a sidewalk and a curb, okay? Obviously intentional, and said, you're out and I'm not paying you. That is a drastic step. And what that tells the rest of the troopers, you can't get away with this. So what happened less than 30 days later? They allowed him to retire with full benefits. Let me repeat that. The guy that they knew they were going to charge, their own office, Michigan State Police, Michigan Attorney General, was going to file charges. They knew that. They let him retire with full benefits. So you and me and all taxpayers are paying that man his benefits that absolutely should have been terminated. Okay? Just like anybody else that breaks the law at a job. So if you have policies and procedures in place, which all officers not only do, but they have to under the law now, use the policies as a tool. At Johnson Law, somebody does something like this, I am walking them out the door. I am terminating their employment. Sorry, I can't help you here. You just ran over somebody and I can't allow that. And gone. I don't pay them benefits or anything. Just do what Ben said. Do the right thing.
Right thing.
I hope I answered your question.
For the attorneys, it was mentioned earlier, you both also represent the family of Patrick Lyoya in an excessive force case. Why do you feel this is happening in Grand Rapids?
Well, come on, we know why it's happening in Grand Rapids, because they keep getting away with it. Patrick Loyola yesterday, his criminal law team filed what we call a cert. It's a certiorari application with the United States Supreme Court. Gee, why do you think they filed it in the last few days? Thank you, President Trump, and all of his comments that he's been making about immunizing, in other words, preventing officers from being charged or being sued civilly. So trying to prevent that. You all hear me talking about governmental immunity. This is federal governmental immunity, is what we're talking about now. And this is going to be a very, very difficult issue. You immunize police officers who shoot and kill people that have never been charged criminally or found guilty by a jury, then what you're doing is you're abandoning the Constitution.
Yeah, and this is real scary. It's real scary because if they get away with it with Patrick Loyola, who's to say it won't be your child next time? So this isn't just about, you know, Riley Doggett or Samuel Sterling or Patrick Loyola. It's about your children too. And I don't know how many times we got to ring the alarm to remind everybody what Dr. King said is true. Injustice anywhere is a threat to justice everywhere. And that's what's happening in America right now.
Governmental immunity, how does that play into this case, these cases?
There's two different types of actions, a federal action under federal law and a Michigan state court action under Michigan state law. As it relates to the Michigan state claims, I can sue the owner of the vehicle for the negligence of the officer. So both officers have been, and the owner of the vehicle, in other words, Kent County for the Doggett case, and because McBain's was driving in the Kent County vehicle, and Keeley, we believe, was driving a state of Michigan vehicle, even though he was a part of a federal task force. So that is what we call an exception to governmental immunity. Sorry for the lawyer, blah, blah, blah. But when I sue the individual officer in both cases under state law, I have to sue them for gross negligence. And the thing that y'all have heard me talk about, the THE proximate cause instead of a proximate cause. And it just gets into a just ridiculous analysis that is, I think, epitomized on how grotesque the governmental immunity is in Michigan by the Oxford case that you all know. We're currently in the Michigan Supreme Court to try to turn that around and find justice for those folks.
And I'll just say this, it is truly a lesson for anybody aspiring to be an attorney and know how you plead cases, to watch what my great co-counselor and his team did in pleading these cases. But it's also very simple. It's very simple. Cars are dangerous instrumentalities. We know that they can kill people. And so we hold people accountable for what damage their cars cause, whether in the operation of these vehicles. Michigan owned the car. It was driven by a police officer who says he didn't mean to hit Samuel Sterling. Well, then under the law, he's held accountable just as if you hit and kill somebody. It's simple. But I commend Attorney Ben Johnson and his team for making these things that they try to say are very complicated be very simple. You know, they always say when you're fighting for justice for marginalized people, oh, it's going to be very hard to get justice. They said that with George Floyd too, Ben. Oh, we don't know. How do you not know? The video is right there in your face. It's not a hard case. It's not hard to the Attorney General to look at what should be done for Riley Doggett. It's not hard when you think what the state of Michigan should do for Samuel Sterling, knowing that they own the vehicle. It is not complicated. It's simple justice.
Grand Rapids Police earlier this week mentioned that Samuel Sterling was in a vehicle with his brother that left a homicide scene in 2023. Will that impact the civil case, and do you think it's relevant at all? That is from MLive.
Absolutely not. The relevant inquiry, lawyer words, the most important factor in a police custody situation like this is, what did the officer know? That officer knew nothing about this, whatever media says happened or didn't happen, what have you. It will not anywhere come near being admitted to evidence, our case. So it has nothing to do with anything. And it's just, as far as I'm concerned, not only hearsay, it's gossip, but it has zero to do with anything other than to do what happens in every single one of these cases when you represent the victim of an officer, wrongful death, shooting, or a car used as deadly force, smear campaign against the family. They think that's going to help them somehow. I think it's sick.
Thank you. I'd like to open up for last remarks from you two gentlemen and the families. No further questions at this time, but a last call for anyone in the room or on Zoom.
Michael, anything? Andrika?
No.
Taylor, Becky? Beck? Mr. Crump?
This is an opportunity to be able to be a point of light in what seems to be a very dark place in America right now. And with these cases, hopefully we can shine a light to show America that we're better than this. We're better than this. We're better than character assassination and attempted cover-ups on things that we know are so obvious. Police officers should not be above the law. In fact, they should be representative of the law. Michigan, how about we send that message to America now more than ever? We can be the example, but it's going to take Michigan leaders to rise to the occasion. This is an opportunity. These cases present an opportunity to the state leadership of Michigan.
And I'd like to thank media for being here. Please use these videos if you need them. If we can help cut them down or do whatever you need, let us know. I'll hook you up with our IT genius, Anthony Cairo. But these videos speak for themselves. You see the car veering quickly to the right when someone is running next to your car. And what Ben said is a perfect example. If any one of us were driving a car and there was a pedestrian out by our front wheel, the last thing in the whole world you would ever do is what? Turn right. And if you do, you know what's going to happen. You could injure or kill them. So it's no different for an officer. Chris, did you have that case? First name? Ashtian, A-S-H? Ashtian, Barnes, B-A-R-N-E-S. And do we know who he was suing? Okay.
Because there were outstanding tolls on the vehicle that he was driving. The officer began chasing him and then shot through his windshield.
Outstanding tolls.
And it was a rental vehicle.
Okay.
So it wasn't his accident.
Got it. Okay. Any other questions? Alex?
No other questions. I'd just like to tell everyone on the Zoom and in the room, we will be sending the videos that were shown today, filed complaints, and all other assets that will come from Chelsea Heckathorn from Near Perfect Media. If you'd like to request one-on-one interviews with the attorneys or the families, please reach out to Chelsea at Near Perfect Media, NEARPerfectMedia.com. That concludes today's press conference. Thank you all very much.
Thank you. Oh, by the way, I did want to shout out, thank you, Commissioner Robert Womack from Grand Rapids, who is an incredible civil rights activist and constantly is on the forefront of holding everyone accountable, including police. And so, Commissioner, thank you very much, sir. We appreciate you very much.
Amen.
Thank you all.